Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 365.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we are going to talk about millionaires and specifically some misconceptions that people have about millionaires. There are 6 of those that I found in a very interesting article that I wanted to share with you on Business Insider. This was written by Tanza Loudenbach. I thought this was interesting because sometimes we do get misnomers about millionaires, and it kind of can cloud our judgment and cloud what we think it takes to become a millionaire. And since I'm always trying to show you the easiest path to become a millionaire and boost your self-confidence and your wealthy mindset that you can become a millionaire, I thought I would share this article with you. So it goes like this. The habits and tastes of millionaires are fascinating to those of us with less than 7-figure bank accounts. According to a report on American millionaires by Wealth Engine, about 7% of the U.S. adult population has a net worth greater than $1 million. So I just want to stop right there. Only 7% of the U.S. adult population has a net worth greater than $1 million. Right there is probably a misconception because I know a lot of people think that everybody's wealthy and they're not, or that everybody in California is wealthy and they're not. So we're going to talk about some of those thoughts and what actually is the truth. But it's just interesting to note that not everybody's wealthy and not everybody is doing so much better. You know, with the cryptos and all that, you just hear all these stories about millionaires and they threw $100 into it and became a millionaire and all this craziness. Well, we had that back in the dot-com bubble era too. And at that time, it was the cover of a magazine that said, everybody's getting rich. And it just made you feel like everybody was wealthy, and if you weren't wealthy, then there was something wrong with you. And I feel like we're kind of in that sort of same effervescent bubble happening again. So anyway, the article continues. Below, we've highlighted some interesting facts about rich millionaires that may surprise you, from the type of car they drive to their political affiliations. So the first thing is that they're not all filthy rich. In fact, 95% have a net worth between $1 million and $5 million. I want to stop there and say this is really interesting because if you remember back on podcast number 286, I talked about how there was a specific number that people thought of when they thought of wealth. And it wasn't $1 million. It's actually $2.4 million. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you might want to go back and listen to number 286 about that. There were some interesting statistics in there and information about how people created their wealth, of course. But anyway, not everybody is super wealthy. 95% have a net worth between $1 million and $5 million, which is nice and comfortable, but certainly not filthy, dirty rich like people might think, that they can just go and blow it on all kinds of craziness and live in a $100 million house and things like that we tend to read about and think that certain wealthy people are just extraordinarily wealthy. I think oftentimes people think people are a lot wealthier than they really are. The second thing is more rich Americans identify as Democrats, 58%, than Republicans, 38%. So there you go. I think that a lot of times politicians are talking about one party or the other being the well-to-do party, but it really is that 58% of millionaires identify with being a Democrat. Interesting. Number 3, they don't only drive luxury cars. Ford is the second most popular car brand behind Mercedes and ahead of BMW. So Mercedes is number 1, Ford is number 2, BMW number 3. And this doesn't surprise me because if you haven't read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, it is an excellent book about the habits of millionaires. And they said in that book that many millionaires drive Ford pickup trucks, which was really interesting. I'll leave a link in the show notes to The Millionaire Next Door. It's one of the best researched books about millionaires and what is really true about millionaires. So I think that is a spectacular documentation of how millionaires became wealthy, and I highly recommend it. I will leave a link to it in the show notes and on my website. The fourth thing is that New York City and Los Angeles don't have the most millionaire residents. It is Miami Beach's 33109 zip code that actually has the highest saturation of millionaires in the United States. So isn't that interesting? It's really Miami Beach. Number 5, very few millionaires own private jets. Only 1% of millionaires own a private plane, but 3% own boats. Well, I think that's a very interesting statistic. I'm not surprised at all because millionaires are very savvy with their money, and owning a plane is a depreciating asset and a very expensive one at that, because you've got to take care of all the maintenance, you have to hire the pilots, you have to pay for fuel, and all of those things. And that's why Warren Buffett invested in the company NetJets, because for about $250,000 a year, people can have access to private planes without having to have the depreciation and the negativity of losing the investment value in their plane. So I think that it makes sense to me that very few millionaires would own a plane, and also very few millionaires would own a boat. Only 3% own a boat. As you know, that's another depreciating asset. So that doesn't surprise me that that is a very small number as well. And number 6, they're not bachelors and bachelorettes. Almost 94% of millionaires are married. And again, that was in The Millionaire Next Door, where not only are they married, but they're only married one time. They typically aren't divorced and remarried. They typically don't divorce multiple times. They typically have one marriage, and they have stayed married their entire life. So really interesting statistic. Very interesting article. I will post links to the article in the show notes and on my website, and also to the book, The Millionaire Next Door. If you haven't yet subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, please hit the subscribe button so you'll be updated as soon as new podcasts are available. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.